What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with the new supergroup, The Limit. Thank you guys so much for being on here to talk about the making of Caveman Logic. I'm really excited to have you all here.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an honor to have you here. I want to know really the origin, really of this group at first. Being that this is a super group combining, were you trying to maybe combine element of Pentagram and Testers and Dawn Rider and the Stooges in together into one project for the making of Caveman Logic, or were you all trying to step into territory that you never really been in before in your other projects?
It's
It's an interesting question. I'll answer part of it. Bobby can take over. We didn't really have kind of a methodical plan. We just knew that if we got together, it would produce something different and cool. I love Bobby dearly after getting to know him, and we were doing a lot of goofing around on the phone. Then we got serious and spoke about making an album. But the way I usually roll is just more kind of intuitively. I don't like say, okay, let's add this element in, let's put a little surf part in there, a little hip hop part, we don't make plans like that. We just figured let's get together. There was a lot of music we both loved. And so we got together and did it. And it just came, we're lucky it came out like magic. The experience was very stressful at first, but Bobby, you might want to comment on how we got together with the ideas.
it's miraculous the way the thing all came together. I mean, we had no plan in mind except we want to do a heavy rock punk fusion, just in a broad sense. But there was no plans laid down until Sonny and I spoke the first time, and even then, it was a few calls down the line because Sonny and I had never met, before this previously. We knew each other through the business and through a mutual friend. I lived with him in New York, and he had on tour with him. So we didn't really have a game plan laid. We just knew that, like he said, that something would come out really good from this because we both had a lot of experience in the business.
Yeah.
We've
So
been there a
it's
long time.
it seems like this was a very organic, like because when listening to this album, I call it, there's all these
Hey, man.
yeah, it's all these subgenres of rock. You got hard rock, 80s rock, whatever. I call this all organic rock and roll. That could be that could be the genre.
Yeah, it's very,
Yeah.
very basic and to the point. It doesn't have any frills.
Hey, Alex, what did you listen to when you heard the album? Was it MP3s, or did you guys? What was your format for listening?
I got a promo like every industry individual
'Cause
gets.
I was just on the phone on a Zoom thing with the record company, and they played the vinyl, like the vinyl test pressing over the phone, and I
No.
was knocked out. You know how sometimes when you do
Wow.
you go from the studio, and then you put the vinyl on and you go, what the heck happened to our album? It's way better than I thought. I've been listening through computer with MP3s and wave files. We've been listening with
So
phones,
it's not
computers.
condensed into a little can,
Yeah, so
right?
now I've heard it full blown on a stereo system with the vinyl playing, and I'm really blown away by it. It's probably, well, not only probably, it's the best sounding album I've ever made. It's
Well,
really good.
Well, I'm 27 years old, so my definition of old school listening is, downloading the album on iTunes. That's the
Right.
definition of old school for me.
That's old school.
Back in my day, there was no streaming. If you wanted the bonus track, you have to buy the whole album. And back in my day, you had to hack into your parents' account, your Apple account, and make sure that you got the password right. That was the struggle I
In our
had.
day, there was nothing like that. Zero. There was, you have to go buy the record. That's that. End of it. No such thing as a bonus track or anything like that. There was no downloads available. There was no internet. You had to call your friend on the telephone, which is attached to the wall with a cord, and say, "Hey, have you been to the record store?" And that's the way it goes. Period. Nothing
Wow.
else.
What are these record stores in which you speak of?
These strange foreign
Yeah,
alien
an
other planet
ancient animal, the dodo bird.
aborigines.
The dodo.
The musical
You know,
dodo bird. Well, when listening to this album, what I really enjoyed about it, like it had a good sound, like I feel like it had like a good formula, but every song when you go from like Kitty Gone to like Black Sea to a track like Caveman Logic or, Over Rover or, like it just seemed like there were many different vibes. Like I got many different emotions even though that there was a good sound. Was there like through the course of making this album, what was kind of like the emotional vibe that you were all going through and that you translated into your music?
Oh my God.
go ahead, man, lay it out, baby.
The, Alex, I gotta be honest with you. We did talk about the interviews, like that we're going to do surrounding this album, and like we were thinking, like, yeah, we'll just say, like, we recorded at 44 hertz, 4400 hertz, and we did get a ring in the studio, which the engineer did resolve. But to be honest, we decided to just be full on honest about making this album because, and it was really stressful. It was. For all of us, it was started off as a super negative, almost soul oppressive, draining experience. We didn't know each other. Both Bobby and I were used to being the head honcho of our whole musical career.
We both led our, so to speak, led our bands. We're the figurehead of what we were doing.
And so it took a while for me and Bobby to find our channel, to connect to on learning each other and trusting each other for decisions and for, just different things. And then you got to add Jimmy into the mix. And, Jimmy was the bass player from the Stooges. And Jimmy really didn't do anything since he was in the Ron Asheton's New Order. And Jimmy...
albums were just demo, really, that got pressed.
Yeah.
In 75, 76, their first album was terribly recorded. The second one a little better, but they were done in Ronnie Ashton's living room.
Yeah. And Jimmy was, Jimmy was kind of burned along the way a lot of times, in the music business. He was playing in the Stooges. He was the youngest guy in the Stooges. So a lot of times he caught the, bad end of the stick. So, a funny story about that is that we had asked Hugo, who, by the way, if it wasn't for Hugo, this never would have, progressed because he had a big heart. We got pissed off so many times, and Hugo was just a gentle soul that guided us through everything. And but I had told Hugo, because Hugo was in Portugal, and I had told Hugo that we needed 3 single rooms, in a motel, hotel, whatever, just single rooms, because I knew that these were cranky old, bastards that didn't want to be all on top of each other. And after a 34-hour journey to Portugal, we got to the place, and he brought us up to the place, and it was not single rooms, it was an apartment. And when we got into that apartment, it was a little bit like Lord of the Flies, that book, that movie, Alex, like I'm pretty experienced in the ups and downs of touring, and so's Bobby. And what happened was I got into the apartment, the Airbnb, and I right away, got into my
another room.
Yeah, right away I said, okay, and I scanned the whole place, and I found the room, the room with the big bed and the room with the bathroom attached in the room. I ran in there and threw my suitcase on the bed.
Triggered me.
And then Bobby, I saw him scurrying, like really fast to the only other bedroom. And he threw his suitcase in there going, that's my room, And then Jimmy stands in the living room and goes, fuck you guys.
God damn it.
This is how it's going to work. This is how it was in the Stooges. I got to sleep on a couch. And, that started a chain of events, being in the same apartment, not knowing each other, which was, really tough to deal with. We found our way.
A day and a half, that's it. Sonny and I met the morning before we took off for 34 hours of flying and 3 connecting flights, and we'd never met each other.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
there's like new context added into this album, because I almost feel like, you know, every time I listen to a new album of any style, it is a learning experience. You learn, you know, what the artist was challenging into it. I feel like from listening to this album like is like representative of the learning experience that you were all having at that time. Like, I'm not going to listen to this album the same now. Like, this is a whole new layer of context. Like, thank you for telling me this story.
Right. Yeah, we did find our way, but it was kind of like madness, because I'd never met Hugo either. I'd done work with him, mastering albums and stuff like that. And Hugo, sweet guy, but kind of like after a 34-hour journey where Jimmy lost his wallet in Gatwick, airport, which created a lot of stress. We get there, and Hugo's dream for us was, after such a long journey, we were going to then not go to the quote unquote hotel. We were going to go to an island, and a beautiful idyllic island. And I had sent Jimmy and Bobby pictures of the island. I was thinking, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And
it was like plush, tropical island looking, really like paradise.
Yeah. He says, first, before we start anything, we're going to take you to the island. You guys, it's going to be very poetic. You guys are going to be able to chill out, relax. And so we get there, we're in the car. We have not gone into the Lord of the Flies, prison cell.
Yeah, we're just at the airport. Just got out of Faro, Portugal airport, and we're on the beach, in Portugal.
Well, we're in front of the hotel now.
Yeah,
Hugo goes, okay, so now we'll go to the island. And now this is after 34 hours of hell. And I said, okay, how far is the island, Hugo? He goes, 2 hours. I go, 2 hours more? And he goes, and I go, how far is it from the shoreline to the island? We have to take a boat, I suppose. He goes, that's another hour. And like, we were just already drained. And so then the drummer was standing there, and apparently it was his family that owned the house on the island. And the deal was, we thought, we're going to an island, we're going to have our own cook, we're going to sit around and write poetry and look at the waves and chill out and just
picnic.
The greatest
like
thing.
Having a paradise weekend, on the island.
And then Juan says to Hugo, he goes, oh, we can't go to the island because the house doesn't have the water on, and there's no. And I go, well, are there sheets and blankets and towels and stuff? He goes, no. So right then I realized it was a weird rustic island situation with no cook, beds with like bug shit all over it, and God knows what, spider poo, and it's it's just horrible to think of. And I said, Hugo, take us to the hotel rooms. That's when we walked up to the Lord of the Flies accommodation.
This is
that's where
this is the best story I think I've ever heard in my life about the making of an album. Every time I ask, oh, how was the making of this album? It's like, oh, well, we went to this studio, we got it tracked by this, mixed by this. I'm like, no, I didn't hear stuff like this before. Congratulations.
You haven't the studio yet.
It's crazy, Alex. I don't want to tell each story. It's so much fun telling them. Maybe Bobby can tell. Keep in mind, we love Jimmy. We found our way with Jimmy. We just love him really, a lot. And but there were situations where we would be in a restaurant. I've played with Ron Ashton from the Stooges on drums, made a few albums with him, did a couple of tours with Scotty, and Ron produced one of my albums. So the fact that Jimmy was in the Stooges was an interesting connection. He knew Scotty really well. And like, what would happen we'd be in a restaurant, and Jimmy would be telling a story about Stooges, and then Bobby would say, yeah, and but in Pentagram, and Jimmy would perceive that Bobby was interrupting him, and then what would happen in the middle of the restaurant, Bobby?
He'd jump up. He jumped up from the table. We got a full packed restaurant at dinner time. It's 5:00, and they're in there, everyone's dining. And Jimmy would fly up from the table and say, fuck you little cunts. God damn you, those little pricks. I don't want to hear any more about Pentagram here. I'm here to do a record. Fuck you, I'm going home.
Yeah.
He was a little upset. I love Jimmy. He's a great guy. He's just, a little temperamental. And I'm not getting the teeth thing.
Yeah, no, but keep in mind, we did find our way, but there was a lot of growing pains, and yeah, Jimmy was flying off the handle, but then, half hour later, he'd be kissing Bobby on the top of his head, and they'd be kind of hugging and
Yeah.
stuff. So
You
it
know, I
was,
love Bob.
it
It's like,
was pretty crazy, and yeah,
I jammed with Jimmy like for a couple hours in like an abandoned warehouse that we had that was just shut down old studio in New York City in Brooklyn. And so Jimmy and I had played a little bit together. We were just jamming around, playing Cream songs and stuff like that, and Hendrix songs. But I temporarily Jimmy kind of lived where I lived, at the same apartment with our buddy in New York, Danny, and so we knew each other a little bit, but it was like all of a sudden, wow, who's this at the table, eating? And we throw a chicken wing across the room or something like that. It was weird in a packed restaurant.
All right, I'm gonna ask you this question now. All right, and if you guys slam your laptops on me for this, I will not blame you. But after this experience, right? How do you think that this is going to influence your songwriting in the future? Because this definitely was a learning experience. Like, you probably, like, if we could get another Limit album, just from, because you clearly learned a lot about yourselves, you clearly had to learn a lot about songwriting as well, right?
oh yeah. Well, we plan to make a new album, and we did learn a lot, so it'll be a lot different, and
It'll be different, but it's not. I don't think it's a matter, Sonny, really, of us having necessarily utilized what we learned. It's just you chalk it up to experience and just you strive on. It's the artist in you that really ends up dominating the whole thing. It's not like, well, I'm going to gather this bad thing and that bad thing and write down what's going to be different and so forth, necessarily a schedule. You go with the flow. But yeah,
well, it's like some bands, they record in very luxurious situations. They've got like 5-star hotel rooms. They got like roadies and assistants. We had to do everything on our own. I hadn't seen the movie Last Days Here until a few days before we left, and when I saw that movie, I was thinking, oh my God, do I need to hire 3 nurses and 5 bodyguards to carry Bobby into the studio? But, Bobby did really good. Like he became clean after that movie. And, I was encouraging everybody to just, help Bobby just do it on his own. We did. We all had to do it on our own. We had no assistance, nothing like that. So
you were told when we got there that there would be someone with us at all times, show us around, and the language barrier if there was one. And so, Sonny and I have been to Portugal before, but we don't speak, Spanish fluently, or Portuguese rather. And so I was like, I was very focused. This is what I do.
Yeah, it was the music. It was the music that really got us through everything, and it was kind of a trial by, fire, as they say, because I suppose there are bands that say, oh my God, it's so lovely. Look at this recording studio. It's got like a driving range. I think I'll go hit some golf balls, and everything is great and fantastic and lovely. Then they make an album and perhaps it comes out like room temperature soup. Everything for this album went wrong except the music. So maybe, Bobby, maybe next time we got to record in like the back of a dilapidated, tractor trailer and just,
haunted.
Well,
by fire.
This is like, I've always said, pain is the best paintbrush, or and look at it now, like 2020 was supposed to be a great year of rock and roll, and clearly that wasn't the case. But but now all the artists are using this disappointment, this anxiety, this confusion, this anger. No matter how you feel about the pandemic or at this time, there's one thing that binds us all together. We're all fucking pissed off. And right now there's a young teenager who may have not have picked up, who just picked up the guitar now and got into Slayer or Metallica or heavy metal because he found a release from this time. I think really when it comes to things going wrong, is ultimately the best fuel for the fire of creativity. And that's what I hear on this
Yeah.
album. That's what I hear on this album. It's just in your face. There's no strings attached to it. It's just the
And there's
music.
despair to put it across. We wanted to have that attitude. That's the main thing about it. You know, once you get the technical music thing down, I think the attitude is really got to be there. And we really had an attitude by that time. So, you know, we're about the art and let's get this done well.
Yeah.
You know.
And no
Yeah,
artist ever
we were very
stops
lucky
learning.
because we're very lucky because one thing, I mean, I guess I should have written like, you know, many thousands of emails about what a single room is. And, you know, but that didn't work out. But I did very clearly say, I'm not coming to Portugal unless Paulo Vieira is our engineer. That was a caveat that I insisted on. And he saved our ass because,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if I guess you do play also, Alex, but, you know, the best situations with people are when you don't have to explain everything. You got an intuitive, you know, like I've played shows and clubs where you don't have to tell the sound man, oh, can you do this? Can you?
Yes, I got this. This is my room.
You know, I think one of the best sound men I ever worked with in my life. I said, oh, could you turn my monitor down a little bit? You know, it's like, and Paulo, we very rarely had to explain anything to him because he knew what we wanted. He was on our wavelength.
Really,
And,
really.
that was one of the
Blessing.
pleasurable things.
Yeah. Well,
Total blessing.
and I'll say this too. You bring up a good point. I went to art school, so there would be times where like somebody would put like a minimal thing on it and explain for like in like a 10-page essay what the meaning
God,
of
I
the
hate
piece.
that, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like, and look, we're artists. We should be able to defend and explain our work. You know, obviously, you know, I sometimes saying, oh, it's whatever you want it to be can be a cop out. But the more you have to explain something, I also feel like you're putting your art on life support. Like, and that's what I hear about what I hear in Caveman Logic. What I hear in Caveman Logic, this is a rock and roll beast that's able to stand on its own. And everything that you just explained to me is great and it makes more sense with the album. I am going to listen to it with a bit of a different perspective, but I definitely was able to listen to it and tell they put fire and fury into the making of this.
Yeah, we really had good luck with it.
I
And
hope I hope it launches well. You know, I hope we've done good. Did we pass the audition?
well, now here comes the final question. How do you think a tour on this album will be?
Well, we talked about it. You know, it depends. You know, we're definitely you know, we'll need it set up in a way where we're not all fighting. You know, and of course,
I spoke to Klaus Koschel, is his name. He works for Viber Agency, who are very, very top dog in Europe. They're really big, and they book, you know, Hellfest and, you know, what is it? You know, this Whack and all these big festivals, right? They book all their bands on there. He was booking Pentagram for like the last 12 or 13 years. He's really, though, not a metal head at all. And when I told him about this and he heard it, he listens to garage rock. That's what his favorite thing is, and traditional punk, like classic Ramones and stuff like that, right? And he right away, he called me from Germany and said, Bobby, I like to book, it's in 22, I like to book the limit. Can you guys tour all over Europe? You know, and it was like, well, we'll see, you know, time will tell, right? You know,
yeah, time will tell.
Okay. Well, bring this shit to New York, please. I just want to hear this in like a grungy like club. Like I just want to hear this.
Hey, I grew up in Brooklyn, man. You know, that's where it's at.
Of course.
It's like that.
Of course. It's not a real club unless you're getting hepatitis from using the restroom there. That's what I'm saying. But I want to thank you guys so much for your time today, and thank you for being able to tell us about the songwriting and the making of this album. People definitely need to hear this, and I'm hoping that you know, this really is going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you so much.
Thank you kindly,
Thank you.
Alan. Appreciate that a whole lot.
Yeah,
all right?
thank you, everybody. We are here.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, everybody. We are here with The Limit, Caveman Logic, coming out April of 2021. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.